Besides sending the police, you might want to send an ambulance or a hearse.
Hello and welcome to Billy Ho Sports. Today we're going to talk week one overreaction, reaction, Mondays, hindsight 2020, all that good stuff. We're going to look back at the biggest surprises on the week as a whole, what to try to determine whether or not they were a fluke or not. Also, we're going to cover some DFS plays. There was some big scoring done yesterday in the afternoon. The day started off quite slowly. Week two contest for Billy Ho NFL is already out. It filled relatively comfortably last week. So if it keeps filling, maybe this week, I might try to bump it up a little bit and make it bigger. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Much appreciated. Smash that like button, leave me a comment, and let's get started.
Football!
Okay, the opening game of the season was last Thursday at Arrowhead Stadium, and that appeared to set the tone for an underwhelming week one main slate on Sunday. So the Kansas City Chiefs looked average at best without Travis Kelce, losing a close one 21-20 to the Lions at home. And I personally thought that Mahomes should have been able to handle that without Kelce, no problem. So I was happy that they sat him. But it becomes evident that they just might have just a bunch of dudes besides Travis Kelce. I mean, Tony and Sky Moore and Rasheed Rice. I mean, Rice is just a rookie, so you can't pass judgment on him. And Moore is just trying to get into his own in the second. But Tony, oh God, he was terrible. He had more drops. I mean, it cost him the intercept. He probably cost him the game if you want to blame somebody, because the pass went right off his hands and went the other way for a Detroit Lions touchdown. That was pretty much the difference in the game. So anyway, the Chiefs look like they're going to go as far as Kelce will take them, and they might be staring 0-2 in the face going on the road to face the Jaguars, who looked pretty solid against the Colts. And the Colts didn't look too awful bad either. Richardson, I think he got a kind of a tweaked his knee or something in the game, but I won't know what his status will be just yet. But the Jags seem to go over all right. Calvin Ridley was just fantastic. So glad I got him on my home league. So looking good there. Here's a look at the week one targets. I'm just going to kind of randomly be popping these up. Wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, how many times they were targeted for week one, just to give you guys an idea on where the passing was going. Dominant wide receivers. The tight ends were pretty bad, really, and the running backs really didn't catch a whole lot of passes. Even Christian McCaffrey only caught 5 passes. So anyway, I think the main obstacle for fantasy scoring yesterday was one, the lack of offensive preparation during preseason. A lot of guys injured. They play on the air on the side of caution. So I think week ones are always like that fourth preseason game, but they play the whole game. So mistakes are made, inefficiency. You saw it in Kansas City Thursday night. They ran a couple of poor plays. You saw Baltimore struggle a little bit. You obviously saw the Bengals struggle with Joe Burrow, the calf injury, him being out unprepared. So they looked awful. That was the least amount of passing yards he's ever thrown. Also, some really bad weather on the East Coast, all up and down, affected all kinds of games, all the way up into the Sunday night game with the Cowboys. And maybe even tonight. I think we'll be in the clear tonight, but there is rain today in New York. So anyway, like I said, the Bengals losing on the road to the Browns. Even the Ravens struggled a little bit versus the lowly Texans. Now they are learning a new offense, so Lamar might struggle a little bit early. Zay Flowers was everything we thought he'd be, or I thought he'd be anyway. He looked really good, really elusive, really fast, cuts on a dime. The Vikings lost at home to the Bucks. Baker Mayfield looks like a serviceable quarterback again for now. He's got Mike Evans to throw down deep like he used to have Odell Beckham, and he's got Godwin underneath like he used to have. So was one of those games that the Vikings would have won last year because they won 10 games by inside 7 points. But now it's I guess regression is catching up. But you can't turn the ball over like that. I think there was an interception and 2 or 3 fumbles. I know they had 3 turnovers, and you can't win ball games even at home like that. So anyway, the 49ers look absolutely legit. I really wanted to see Brock Purdy do it because I just thought Brock Purdy, but he did. He looked really good, and they had rain trouble too, but it didn't affect them as much. I think it was kind of like Baltimore where the rain was off and on, and it led up for a lot of the game. But players like Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk showed out. And then they still have Debo and Kittle, who they just didn't require. Kittle's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. Debo's a man child, so he's always ready to help and do what needs to be. So they look really good. They got all they need on O, along with that aggressive D. So definite, legit Super Bowl contenders. Just real quick, a couple of observations on teams that were as bad as they appeared to me before the season. The Bears and the Steelers both look bad. I think the Steelers can get better, and Bears along with it. But Justin Fields, sometimes if he's not designing runs or breaking off 40, 50-yard runs, they're just really not looking very good at all. The defense didn't look all that great either, considering Jordan Love was throwing the ball and had a really good day, and Aaron Jones had a good day too. Another team actually that looked as good as I was hoping they would was the Rams. Looked really good beating the Seattle Seahawks on the road. I got no idea to think of. I've tried to come up with it, but it's the Tutu Nakua train. Tutu Atwell and Puka Nakua, both over 100 yards. Both, if you see the fantasy scoring, actually, they are both in the tops of the fantasy scoring. Those two guys were about as big a surprise as anything else. Aaron Donald providing the pressure. So I like that. I feel better about my indications on the Rams defense not being done yet. So I think they'll be fairly competitive this year. They probably won't handle San Francisco as far as the winning the division type thing goes, but they're going to be right behind, and they probably got a crack at a wild card spot, I'd say. Now, the Seahawks will go to Detroit, where that broke every DFS slate on planet Earth last year with them over 80 on the over-under. So I don't know if we're going to see that again, but we definitely cannot dismiss that one coming up next week. So we're going to take a look at the DFS slate here in just a second. But the hashtag nailed it lineups of Tua and Tyreek Hill all cashed nicely, and I had several of those. That stack is worth playing every week because Hill can have that game anytime, anywhere against anyone. Oh, and this just in, Tua can throw the ball. I watched him. He doesn't have a noodle arm or whatever people say. The dude can throw it. And being a left-hander, I think sometimes gives you an advantage. And maybe it has something to do with him being left-handed, throwing to Tyreek Hill, cutting across the middle, going to the left sidelines, because he just seems to always be open down the middle of the field, and they were just killing him with that play. So anyway, I went two stacks. I went Lamar Jackson was the other one, and that didn't work out so well. Every time they got close, they ran it in. RIP to J.K. Dobbins, who falls to another season's ending injury with the Achilles tear. And then he scored the first touchdown, and then after he left the game, they got in close twice again and got two more touchdowns from Justice Hill. Then they got a 2-point conversion from Gus Bus. So it was like none of the scoring affected Lamar. He didn't have to run a whole lot to beat this weak Houston team. So I expect that is going to be a lot more next week, and we'll take a look at that in a second. Cowboys-Giants game got out of hand way too early, and the weather didn't help there either. It was pouring. But and it's all started with the blocked field goal kick for the touchdown, and then the Cowboys' pressure is no joke. But the thing I did take away from is Tony Pollard's going to be that nice round 2 selection. I think he's going to be really good. He didn't get all the attempts that he would have wanted, but he did get a couple of touchdowns, and it shows that they are going to give him the ball at the goal line, just like they did Zeke. So I'm liking he's already got 2 on the board, so double-digit touchdowns are on the way. So nice season long pick. Let's take a look at next week's main slate. All right. And like I said, the Billy Ho contest is live, so make sure you get into that. And we're just taking a look at the first look And I think I'm going to go right back to Lamar, especially at Cincinnati. Cincinnati was a big disappointment. I don't know if recency bias will play into effect, but I believe that Jackson Flowers and then run it back with Chase is going to be probably still going to be popular. But then again, you have to keep an eye on these two guys right here, Kelsey and Andrews. They may have been just sat for precautionary. I would have sat Andrews absolutely because they were going to beat Houston regardless of, you saw how poorly they played and they still won going away and probably covered the point spread. But Waller is back indoors. That's going to be an interesting game. I have an idea on that one. Like I said, we're absolutely going to need pieces of the the Seattle and Detroit game where we have, DK Metcalf had a huge game last year in the Dome. And then you got ASB, St. Brown, and you got how fast Gibbs is going to be, Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, we're just going to have to really, really get into that. And then obviously this San Francisco Los Angeles game is going to be a lot more interesting now that we saw a more competitive aspect from the Rams. So CMC McCaffrey had a monster game. That was his big breakout game, one of his first with the team after he got traded. Obviously, Austin Eckler going to Tennessee. Tennessee's defense is a little bit tougher, and I think that they've had trouble in the past on the road. So that might be a good game to fade. Barkley, I think that Giants game, Danny Dimes is going to have a bounce back. I think the Jets and Dallas is going to be an interesting game, but I don't know if it's going to be the shootout that it appears on paper. Kansas City and Jacksonville, at Jacksonville, a lot of plays to be made there with Ridley and, T-Law. And obviously Etienne had a great game. So there's going to be tons to go over, tons to look through. I'm really looking forward to getting after it again. So finishing off the show, the Monday night game should be interesting, hopefully more scoring than we've seen so far. More showers in the forecast, but like I said, it's going to clear. So I look for Buffalo to win this game. People are just touting the Jets way too much. Buffalo's got a pretty damn good defense, and they got a pretty damn good offense. I think Garrett Wilson will do some scoring for him. I think Breece Hall probably plays. I don't know what the split with Dalvin Cook will be, but I think 24-21. I think it'll be fairly close, but I think Buffalo wins by a field goal. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Lots more content coming. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Support any way you can. And till next time, see you soon.